Hey y'all, hi, I'm Hannah, and I love talking about aesthetics here on my YouTube channel. How beauty and beautiful things affect our lives and our habits, and in some cases our wallets. And today, I'm gonna talk about interior design trends for 2024. I love thinking about interior design, especially because I'm interested in how aesthetics affect our lives. And, it's literally the space in which you dwell. And I'm actually going to be moving soon. So I have been consuming a lot of design content, making Pinterest boards, making collages, because there's going to be some refurnishing and redesigning in my near future. So I came across this article, 5 interior design trends that will define 2024. It's from Architectural Digest. I'm gonna talk through it with you and we'll see what we think. If you're new here and if you like this, I hope you'll subscribe. And now let's get into the meat of the video. Okay, trend number 1, according to Architectural Digest. I digest. Trend 1, according to Architectural Digest, stone fruit chic, peach, and apricot. I am partly leaning on this article because I need some framework. I'm not just following. Actually, I do have a sense of things that are trending in interior design. I could kind of wing it, and there's a lot that I think is going on in the design zeitgeist that's reflected in interiors that's not in this article. Maybe that's a topic for another time. But it came across this and I really like how it's written, and it also gives me a jumping off point, so that's why I'm going with it. Soft, sweet, and just a bit tart, peach and apricot are the dominant hues in the home trends color forecasts for 2024. So when it comes to color, trending in general and trending for homes, I'm a bit torn, because if you buy a piece of furniture in a very trendy color, and it's the kind of trend that's so specific and so sharp and strong that 5 years from now, that couch, like that, purple couch is gonna be so 5 years ago, you've maybe made an unwise choice, maybe made an unwise investment. But at the same time, paint in the home is one of the things that affects the space the most dramatically and is the easiest to change. And it's kind of wonderful to be able to drench your life in color, live in color, and then change it by painting the walls. In that way, a color trend is something that we can kind of ride with interiors, because it makes sense to repaint every once in a while. And so it's a way to be dramatic and maybe even be trend following, but not be too risky, painting with color. So in that way, I kind of embrace strong color trends in interiors. And, I won't be running out and buying an apricot chair just because it's trending if I don't think that that's going to be enduring for me, because I want my furniture to be enduring investment pieces, just the way that I want my wardrobe pieces to be enduring investments and not trend dependent and not moment specific. So this is just to say, jumping into talking about peach and apricot trending right now, there are some ways to deploy this trend that I think are quite risky because it might become dated quickly. And then there are some ways to deploy this trend that I think are not as risky. And that's just true of color in general. So that said, how do I feel specifically about peach and apricot in the home? Honestly, it really depends for me on saturation and context. And maybe this is true of every color, but there's peach and then there's peach, There's apricot and then there's apricot. And I feel like even a super saturated apricot can be done well and also can be done poorly in kind of a flat, nasty, even dingy way. That too is possibly a topic for another day. How 2 colors can be very similar and yet one really, really rich and wonderful and one kind of gross. But let's just talk about the really, really rich and wonderful peaches and apricots out there. I like it because we're seeing these colors as references to the natural world. I feel like this color trend is sort of an evolution of millennial pink. Millennial pink has ripened, so to speak, into these apricots and peaches. And I feel like millennial pink was always this sort of stark, clinical kind of factory-made color. It was like a color of made things, And I feel like it's ripened into a color of grown things, things that grew on trees, things that grew from the ground. And the way that I've seen this color deployed, it is like that. It feels sort of softer on the edges, botanical, squishy, textured, rather than the truly monochromatic aesthetic, like slick, flat surface of millennial pink. There's also a part of this article that says apricot can easily be paired with neutrals and naturals, and you can also work it to create intriguing narratives. Offset it with greens, purples, and blues for vibrant contrast. And then the article goes on to say that this technique of selecting chromatic bedfellows from opposite sides of the color wheel, you can see why I took to this writing, right, is a common tool. So people are pairing peach with turquoises, and there's this beautiful image embedded in the article of a pale, almost like minty turquoise space with a strong peach chair. And I do like this, even though this feels risky to me. I feel worried about doing something like this in my own space. I really leaned into the comfortable and sort of easy elegance of monochromatic, not just dressing, but design in general, and just how elevated it always seems to feel. This seems like such a delicate balance. It's both contemporary and kind of traditional feeling. There's so much color, and yet it feels peaceful and not overwhelming. It excites me because it feels a little bit post ultra washed out minimalism and like color minimalism. And while I'm still pretty into that kind of monochromatic stuff for my wardrobe, I'm starting to sense that I might want to push into this direction a little bit in my home, maybe play with color a little bit and try to learn how to hold things in balance like this and have it still feel calm, even though there are some strong choices. So I do find this inspiring. I'm not sure it's going to be mint and apricot for me, but I do find this inspiring. Okay, trend number 2, that's so metal. Chrome, steel, and aluminum are suddenly everywhere, and somebody named David thinks that this is a natural consequence of the early 2020s overload of earth tones. Interesting. So I was just talking about that sort of delicate color balance being post monochrome, and they're saying that metal is post earth tones, but that doesn't make sense to me because metal is an earth tone. I feel like metal, I guess they're saying industrial finishes of metal are a response to earthy browns and meditative grays, but I've always felt like metal fits into earthy spaces. Whatever the case may be, I am and have always been a huge fan of beautiful shiny things embedded in especially moody spaces. There's a particularly gorgeous image of this. I guess the metal, this is a mirrored table, I guess. I like this image because this is an example of how a piece of furniture that you might characterize as belonging in the glam interior design style, the like Z gallery style, this mirrored table, it looks like it belongs in a glam home, but it's here in this moody, richly colorful room with a green painted ceiling, and this, colorful sort of traditional looking carpet and this weird red chair in the background. So it makes it look more like a piece of modern art rather than a glam style piece of furniture in the wrong place. I'm really interested in this mirrored furniture, but not looking like it belongs in Jaclyn Hill's house. You know what I mean? Like taking it out of that context and putting it in a more eclectic context so that it just provides a really exciting kind of texture. So I feel that way about metal things. I feel that way about mirrored things. If this is what they mean by metal trending, if they mean putting something shiny in amongst all of your more earthy kind of matte things and your traditional looking things like this carpet, putting something modern and shiny in there amongst it, I'm so about that. And that's something that I'm going to carry with me. I'm going to keep thinking about. Was metal out though? I don't know. I'm curious to see if I start spotting this trend in places. It just seems like a little bit of a reach, but maybe that's just because I never felt that it was out. I've been into metal things, shiny things, and mirrored things in contexts like this for a long time. Okay, trend number 3, dark and deep jewel tones. The saturated hues of precious gems are giving the palette of 2024 design trends a sense of velvety mystery. So you really saw that in the image that I just showed you with the green ceiling. But I feel like this item on the list is about 2 things. So it's saying jewel tones, but it's also saying people are rediscovering color in their homes, which is a welcome shift from the all-neutral palette we've seen for several years, and jewel tones are at the forefront of that shift. We're sensing a trend. A trend in the trends is that we might be currently experiencing the pendulum swing back from what I think of as like Instagram, washed out beige organic modern interior design style. I really like organic modern, as far as I understand it, that's what it's called, because I like organic elements. So stone, plaster, wood, wicker, wool, just real stuff. To me, that's not a trend. That's just the best. It's timeless, just like with my wardrobe. I just love the equivalent of natural fibers in decor. So I tend to find myself gravitating towards, furniture and textiles and things that are categorized as organic modern. But when I take a step back and I look at that style, or what's called things that are in that style, it looks like a little bit too contrived. I see so many images that are organic modern. When you put all those things together though, and it's all just that, it's kind of one note. It's very new feeling, even though I feel like part of the point of natural fibers is that things wear well, they endure, they feel timeless, and then they age kind of over time and they still feel lovely. It's like if you get a bunch of wicker and wood stuff from Home Goods and it's all absolutely brand new, the fact that it's all technically natural materials isn't going to keep it from just looking a little cheesy, when you put it all together. So that's my rocky relationship with organic modern. However, as I was saying, it's hard for me to kind of unstick myself from the safe harbor of neutrals and feeling like everything's always going to feel really calming and hang together if we stay with neutrals. But at the same time, I've been really craving color, and I've been thinking about this space that we're going to move into, and I've just been seeing like color, really rich color. Maybe not specifically jewel tones, although kind of. Yeah, like this ochre that they're showing on the wall, that's one of the colors that I have all over my mood boards. And even the red that you can see through this other room in the background, that's another color that I have all over my mood board. So maybe I have been on this train without knowing it. Amber. Amber as a jewel tone. I see. So at the end of this section, they're saying the idea of categorizing amber as a jewel tones being a category that tends to run cool rather than warm. That is what's going on for me as well. I don't tend to gravitate towards jewel tones because I like warm tones. If like a dusky red can be a jewel tone, a dusky red, and if an amber or an ochre can be a jewel tone, then I am actually squarely on this train and really thinking a lot about how to incorporate color without losing that sense of calm. That is really what I've been thinking about. Wow, Architectural Digest really clocked me. Okay, trend number 4, the new romantics. Unspool your ribbons. Romanticism isn't just for the 19th century or the 1980s. Romantic design. So they're talking about pinks, reds, florals, lace, and ribbons, bows, which we know are all over the place. And this actually came up in my recent video about reacting to what's trending currently in fashion, or all of these segments of that listicle on Vogue that all just kind of amounted to romantic texture in garments trending. And this is kind of the equivalent of that, although they're also talking about maximalist florals, botanicals. And they don't have a picture on here, but I've been seeing it everywhere on Instagram, especially I follow Apartment Therapy on Instagram, and I've been seeing it everywhere. So there was this redo of a kitchen, which involved putting leaf wallpaper over everything, including the dishwasher. It's like totally wild. I will put a picture up and I'll also link it. And painting the cabinets, this green color that I've been, in spite of myself, really gravitating towards. There's this bedroom makeover that has what would look like a really kind of nasty old-fashioned floral quilt in isolation. But in the context of this room with this stunning pastel mint, red carpet, that maximalist floral is elevated and you can kind of see what they meant to do with it. I think this is the kind of floral that AD is talking about when they say the new romantics, and they say that maximalist florals are trending. Sort of an evolution of, they're saying, the cottagecore and the grand millennial themes in interior decor they're like melting together and blooming into maximalist florals. I will probably stay away from this entirely because it's something that I used to really, really love. To me, there was a huge era in my sort of aesthetic sensibilities, like all of my 20s and maybe even early 30s, when there was nothing better than like a large scale sort of painted, dramatic, swoopy floral for clothing, for decor, for anything. And you know how when you really are passionate about something and then you evolve from it, it makes it really hard to kind of go back and reconsider. If you it's one thing if it's something that you never thought you'd like, and then you start to kind of come around. But if it's something that you used to love and then you moved away from it, it's very, very hard to come back around. So I still feel like I have that polarized feeling towards it, like we're opposite magnets, we're north and south magnets, this trend and I right now. So that's how I'm currently feeling, but I'm curious to see where people take it. And then lastly, one that I absolutely love, now and then, mixing and matching historical eras. This is beautiful and the image is beautiful. A Nordic knots carpet with a very 80s looking table with shiny metal on it, connected to the other one, with these older chairs and sort of traditional looking wall. I love this. It's very beautiful, but it's not just the potential I feel like the very close thing is the potential for specific beauty, and that's great. Very beautiful. Beautiful things can be done with this trend. But the larger scale thing that I really love about this is it's freeing. It kind of frees us up to thrift things, to antique things, to collect things that are beautiful in their own right, and then find a way to put them together with other things that are beautiful in their own right, even if they don't match interior design styles. Of course, just like with the color, it has to be done delicately. There's a balance that has to be maintained. And if there's too much all thrown in together and it's not considered, if they don't sort of sing together in certain ways, even though they come from different eras, it'll feel like a jumble. And in this case, part of why it's working is that every single piece itself is exquisite, absolutely exquisite. So, it's not just like anything goes. But the idea of mixing eras in furniture and mixing eras in interiors being a trend and being a thing that there's going to be inspo for and that people are going to be leaning into and it's going to feel fresh, that's just very exciting for me. And it makes the daunting project of designing the space that we move into and making it feel elevated, but also homey, fresh, but also calming. It makes that daunting task feel more possible. It just like opens my mind a little, sort of like takes the lid off of something that had been lidded. I'm very, possibly the most excited about this idea that antique things or old looking things, chunky things can be made fresh and easily combined with fresher, more contemporary things. Okay, that is it. Kind of a quick blast through these 5 trends. I feel like this was really fun, and I also feel like it was just the tip of the iceberg. I got so many other ideas while I was talking about this, and I hope it won't be too long before I come back and talk about interiors again. Maybe I should share my mood boards with you. Share kind of what I've been thinking about doing in my own space upcoming, and we can talk about that in the comments. In the comments on this video, though, let me know what you think about these 5 trends, and if you have other ideas for ways that I could talk about interiors in the way that I like to do. Thank you so much for being here and spending this time with me. I appreciate you so much, and that I hope that you are taking extra good care of yourself so that you can be the most effective version of yourself as you do your work in the world. I can't believe I'm going to be moving house on top of everything else that's happened to me in my life lately.